Hey guys, welcome back to the Sunbelt Developers Podcast. I'm Tim Wright. I'm a commercial real estate broker at Cushman and Wakefield. And today we are blessed to have Herbert Ames here. Herbert's with Edens, and Edens is working on a great project on the east side of Atlanta called Lulah Hills. And we're going to get into that. We'll get into his background and other projects, how the Lulah Hills project came to be, and just a lot of the cool things about it. So, that Herbert, thanks for joining us. You get to be the first one to break in the new studio setup.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, we've got new cameras, we got new lights, we've got the same screens, we've got new sponsors and some of the old ones too. And so season 2, this is like first episode of season 2. So
it's an honor to be here and love what you guys are doing. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So you want to just dive in, like. Who is Herbert Ames? Like, where'd you grow up? Like, where'd you go to school? Like, and
sure.
The backdrop.
Sure. So, I grew up in a little small town, Florence, South Carolina.
Okay.
Take I-20 all the way to I-95, and grew up there my whole life. Grew up with a commercial real estate broker as a father who was involved in local politics, and I guess kind of set my curiosity toward the industry at a very early age. And my mother was a school teacher, so cool. I had that as my childhood, and so spent my youth in Florence, and then went to the University of South Carolina as I graduated high school, and that's where it all started.
Cool, man.
Columbia.
Any sports or early hobbies?
I actually got involved in politics in high school and college.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time working on campaigns and things of that nature. And then,
Were those like local politics or like state representatives?
A little both. My father was on county council in my hometown. And so you get exposed to a lot when your folks are involved.
Yeah.
And local politics is not about Republican or Democrat. It's about community service and doing what's right for the community and all that sort of stuff. So, and then as I moved into college, worked on some statewide campaigns, and being in Columbia, politics is government's a much bigger thing there.
Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of in that. So that's interesting. Okay. So, I mean, what year did you go to South Carolina?
I was a freshman. I got to think back. I was a freshman in college when 9/11, so 2001.
Wow. Okay.
So I remember being in my dorm room when 9/11 hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So graduated in 2004.
Okay.
College.
And was that for real estate, or what was the?
No, I was actually a political science major.
Okay.
Thought I wanted.
Oh, this was like real.
Yeah,
like this,
I thought I wanted to be a lawyer,
and
I got into a couple years of college and decided I needed to make a move and make a transition, and that ultimately led to an internship my junior year at what was then Edens and Avant. So that was 22 years ago this week that I started my internship at Edens and Avant. Worked with a great guy who's still at the company today, a guy named Lyle Darnell.
Okay.
And he showed me, I've had a lot of great mentors over the years. Lyle actually came from a retailer background.
Okay.
And so I really learned the business early on in those first few years, really learning it as from a retailer mindset.
Like a user. Like like what was it, like just kind of. Like,
he ran real estate for Books A Million.
Oh, wow.
Books A Million bookstores in the 90s. And so in the 90s, the bookstore business was a huge business. And so he had done some deals with Mr. Edens and the team back in the 90s, and then ultimately came over and took me on as a, I didn't know what a square foot was.
Wow.
So starting from that to working into, a more permanent role, it led to a full-time position with him and worked for him for many years there in Columbia.
Okay. Very nice. I always ask this, what was like an early project you remember that was, really exciting, or kind of like you felt like you got your footing with?
Yeah. God, there's been a lot. I mean, retail is such a special thing because it touches everyone.
Yeah. And I'm an office broker. I know retail, like we had Mark Toro in here, and he went into all these different, the tenant mix. And I feel like that it's a science that I'm excited to kind of get your take on it.
And Mark's a pro's pro, and he does it very, very well. And learning the business and learning what makes retail work and why people do what they do, and on the backdrop of this whole internet thing that was starting, was really an interesting time to get into the business. And consumer taste and preferences have changed. I mean, Amazon wasn't even really a thing in 2005, right? People were just starting to figure out what that was. It was the internet. And in fact, our CEO, Jody McLean, will talk about this high-speed internet moment where it became clear that things were going to be shifting. And we have to be thinking about our places differently than just places of commerce. So how do you transition from that to something that's a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more connected, a place where people want to spend time? All of those things started to occur. But I mean, back to your original question, Merchants Walk out in East Cobb, we redeveloped that right when the world was changing in the great financial crisis. We started construction in 2009 on that. Very interesting time to start construction, but opened that in 2011, tore down half the shopping center, brought in Whole Foods, redeveloped the rest of the deal. One that was a life's worth of lessons was our Publix on the Upper West Side on Marietta Boulevard. That ended up getting caught in a litigation issue regarding tax allocation districts that had nothing to do with our site, but a more constitutional issue that delayed it for a long time.
This is the one you're like where Moore's Mill
is? Moore's Mill and intersects. In fact, the extension of Moore's Mill to Marietta Boulevard was a whole nother political hot potato between the mayor and our councilwoman over there that took a few years off my life.
Wow. That's such a node. Like that, everybody, like that Publix was a real flag in the ground over there.
It was a huge flag in the ground. And you ride over there today, that Publix, and we ended up doing the residential with Crescent next door.
Okay. Do you mind if I fly over?
Over there? That deal, we counted it up a few years ago, and I think it led to about $1 billion worth of development in that corridor. There's now 4,000 or 5,000 apartments over there.
Here it is. So right at Bolton, DeForge, this is it?
Yeah. So that little strip of Moore's Mill right there between the CVS, that was a huge political hot potato that, as it turns out, I now use all the time because I take my son to DBAT across the street. It turned out to be worth it at the end of the day. But so that Publix was a huge deal for this part of town, and it really bridged kind of what was really West Buckhead to the north and this emerging residential district where a lot of the old industrial areas of the west side of town, a guy named Steve Brock, Brock Built Homes, was doing a lot of work and infill development over there, single family townhomes and so forth. And so this kind of brought both of those together.
Got it. So let me just get this right. So you're saying this little section here, that's what was at, and this was that
was a real
hellfire.
It was a funding debate between some political folks, and
so what, the road just ended right
there? The road ended right there. It actually dead-ended into what was a CVS that sat right there. And part of this overall deal was having to move the CVS over there and do a new deal for them. And that was really the first thing. Wow. This was actually an assemblage of about 13 different properties, about 13 acres.
How long was that?
We started acquiring properties over here in 2005, 2006-ish. And then I think we signed the Publix lease in 2007. Okay. And then there was a Supreme Court case that came down shortly thereafter that effectively eliminated the school board tax increment from being included in tax allocation districts, which was a significant chunk of the tax allocation pie when most school districts are about 50% of that. So from there was a host of challenges, and then the Great Recession, there was a host of issues that pursued from there. But we owned the property and we stuck it out, and we developed a lot of great relationships through that. Turns out that the guy that we ended up working with at Invest Atlanta to finish that deal on the TAD side was a guy named Dorian DeBar, who shows up later at Decide DeKalb as president of Decide DeKalb in a similar capacity. We work with him at North DeKalb Mall. And so it was that relationship that we built there of doing what we said we were going to do here and follow through that led to a great starting point in that conversation over at Lulah Hills.
Yeah, you're just set. There's trust. Like that's awesome. And it's a small world.
It is
the economic development people, they kind of jump around. The brokers, they jump around, but there's still
no question about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank our sponsors for today. Our main sponsor is SHR or Songy Highroads. David Songy was one of our guests a couple months ago and really brought an incredible story about his career. Songy Highroads is a commercial real estate development company that has done almost $3 billion in developments. A couple projects that you might know here in Atlanta is the Hyatt Centric right behind Lenox Mall. There's also the Howell, which is a brand new apartment complex. And the most exciting project that they're working on is the expansion to the Savannah Convention Center. We're really excited to go down there probably early next year to show you guys what's going on. But they've broken ground. It's almost a $400 million project. It's been in the works for almost 10 years and very excited. So if you have any development opportunities or you want to learn more about them, please visit songyhighroads.com. Again, that's songyhighroads.com. Now back to the show. That is a special project. Like it really is. I mean, anybody you talk to about that kind of part of town are like, oh, it's kind of near the Publix. Like we just moved and we were looking at a house right off of Moore's Mill. And my wife was like, she was real pumped about it being close to this. But okay, so you said are these the apartments that y'all helped develop? Okay.
Yeah. So we partnered with Crescent Communities on that, and they developed 345 apartments there. Very successful deal. That was the first deal really out of the ground in this corridor that led to, I mean, you can see all the rest of them now, all that dirt under construction there. I think there's 2 or 3 more that have been announced since then. So real overhaul of that entire corridor for the west side of town.
That's awesome. Okay. And then tell me a little bit more about y'all. Do you get like zeroed in on one property and it's like, this is 110% your focus? Or do y'all have Eden's probably has multiple going, but as far as you managing projects.
I mean, maybe like to take a quick step back. So Eden's this is actually our 60th anniversary, which is that's a long time in the real estate development business. Mr. Edens was in the family food store business. They owned a chain of food stores, and he left at a very young age, 25, and started developing grocery stores throughout the Carolinas, throughout northern Georgia. And so that led to the capitalization of the company in 1997 with the state of Michigan, 2001. JP Morgan and New York State teachers came in with an infusion of capital, and we grew and grew from there. I think when I started in 2004, I think that we had somewhere around 225 assets across really the East Coast.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of $1 billion in value. Today, we're about $7 billion in value across the country. So we're East Coast, West Coast, Texas, and Denver. We have a place in Denver. So that's about 100 places, as we call them, in that footprint. So we have a team of about 215 people that spread across those markets, mainly about 13 major markets that we're doing business in, and then all retail. So we're a private REIT, and today our institutional investors are Blackstone, JP Morgan, and New York State Teachers Retirement System, and so they invest at our company level, which is a great partnership and allows us to be entrepreneurial and operate like a private company and do creative things. And we're not subjected to though we function very much like a public company and we act like a public company in the way we raise money and the way we think about things, the private structure of that allows us to be a little more creative and nimble and entrepreneurial in that regard. And our investors see that, and they invest again at that corporate level. So
very cool.
So I oversee the Southeast, which includes about 22 properties across the Southeast. And then, but my real day to day is obviously the development and focus on a couple of major projects that we have in the Southeast.
Sure. Well, should we jump in? So Lulah Hills, this is the big one. This is like what y'all are working on right now, North DeKalb Mall. I know we had it up on the screen. Let's see. This is it right here?
Yeah.
This is it. Okay, so it's called Lulah Hills. Where did the name come from?
Great question.
Was it?
It's very hard to name stuff these days, first of all. But so we to take a quick step back, we had owned Toco Hills, which is about 2 miles to the west, and we acquired another piece, and we 2015, 16. So we own about 300,000 square feet there. So we kind of got to know this area through that acquisition and the community through that acquisition. And then we had the opportunity to pursue this in 2000. It actually came out late 2020. We were, got control in 2021, in the summer of 2021. We'll get back to that in a minute. But ultimately, we came through this naming process when it became a real thing. We went through and had actually an intern went through and did a whole bunch of research, and she found a letter that Frederick Law Olmsted, the famous landscape planner, designer, had Central Park, et cetera, had sent to Joel Hurt, who was the developer of Druid Hills in the 1890s. Of course, Druid Hills being the neighborhood between downtown Atlanta and downtown Decatur.
Yeah.
Well, that planned neighborhood obviously went on to influence this massive swath of Atlanta up to North Druid Hills, Emory, everything, CDC, everything in between. And he sent a letter that we found in the Library of Congress, this intern, Zoe. And she came up with this list of names that were alternatives to Druid Hills.
Wow.
One of those was to Lulah Hills. And we played with that for a little bit. I actually hired a guy that lives in the neighborhood, a branding guy.
Yeah.
And in the first 3 minutes of the conversation, he said, well, just call it Lulah Hills. And so we went on to study that further with him and came back to Lulah Hills. And so it's fun, it's whimsical, it's actually feminine, there's this feminine piece to it. And so which kind of leads to we really think about our places from a female mindset, and that they control about 80% of every dollar that's spent in this country. So we are thinking about that.
I can't help but laugh. All I'm thinking about is my wife when you say that. I didn't know the fact. So retail spending.
How much money does your wife control in your household? Because mine controls more like 98%. But that being said, it's either indirectly or directly, I mean, that is how dollars are spent in this country.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about the merchandising, when we're thinking about the design, the aesthetic, down to the parking deck. The parking deck has to be higher. The ceiling of the parking deck has to be painted white. It has to be lit. If a woman is going to park in a parking deck, it absolutely has to be clean, safe, in every shape of the. Perception is reality when it comes to that sort of stuff. Down to the tree grates over the landscaping. If a woman gets her high heels stuck in that, she's going to think about that long and hard. So. And a lot of that comes honestly through our leadership, which is we're a female-led organization with a woman CEO, and those details, but those details matter. I mean, my buddy Eric Weatherholtz always talks about retails and the details, and so if you think about all of that and how you approach these things, all of that matters. And so while it is hard to name something, and actually that was very popular. We get a lot of feedback, positive and negative, on the name of Lulah Hills. It's sticking a little bit now, but and we had a lot of positive feedback, but we had some very strong negative feedback.
What was the negative? Like, for me, like
change. People didn't like change, and it's like, well, it's North DeKalb. This is my mall, and like, well, the mall's closed, guys. Like, we bought it; it was closed. Yes. Like, they had shut down. I took my son when we were in diligence. And there was a fire escape, and that was how you got into the AMC at that time. You walked through a fire corridor to get there. So, like, this notion that this thing was going to be recast as a thriving enclosed mall again was kind of
just not
happening.
Not real.
But people are scared of change. People don't like change, so you just got you work through that. But
Lulah Hills, I like this letter that you're talking about, like all the other names that were. There's some history behind it.
Because it was about 30 or 40 names, and they were pretty interesting. But obviously Tallulah, there was Tallulah Gorge already. Of course. Tallulah is kind of a mouthful.
My brain went to like luau and Hawaiian sort of. That's like when I heard Lulah. I was like,
okay,
like
we could go with that.
Yeah. I was just telling you, but Tallulah Gorge is an incredible place. And I like that. Tell me about the acquisition. Like, how did that come about? It was closed down, and was it a bidding process?
So what's fascinating about this piece of property? So this was first opened in 1965. So a guy named Scott Hudgens grew up in South Fulton County, went to World War II, won a Purple Heart, comes back, starts a home building business with his father. This was one of his first commercial developments. He goes on to be this massive pioneer in the retail world in Atlanta and has flown largely under the radar in that regard. He passed away in 2000. I think there was a stretch in the 80s where he touched, either built, redeveloped, repositioned 7 or 8 major Gwinnett Place Mall, Lakeshore up in Gainesville, the mall, Glen Mall down in Brunswick. He repurchased North DeKalb Mall in 84, 85 with Cadillac Fairview. And they added about 200,000 or 300,000 square feet to it, rebranded as Market Square DeKalb, Cobb. I mean, he had a prolific career. He ended up partnering with Ben Carter in 99, 2000 on the Mall of Georgia, and he passed away shortly thereafter. But a phenomenal guy, apparently, from what little bit I've been able to read about him and the history and the people that I've talked to. But this was a very pioneering place in 1965. It was the first enclosed mall in the Atlanta market. So that was just this start of a very revolutionary thing in our country.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, 285, was that?
285 was not there yet.
Wasn't there? Okay.
It was planned, but it was not there yet. And interestingly enough, so this is Stone Mountain Freeway here. And so that initially, there was a plan for that to go all the way through Emory and into downtown Atlanta.
Wow.
And so that was killed in the 70s and early 80s. And the remnants of that were the Freedom Parkway, where the Carter Center is.
Yeah.
So that was supposed to connect all the way through into downtown.
And 400 was supposed to come down, but this neighborhood here, they really they're good at fighting highways.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have really. I mean, you could see what the interstate did south of downtown and so forth. But so this was this very, very pioneering place, first enclosed mall. Everybody you wanted to be there. This was a Riches. So the iconic downtown department store was making its way out to the suburbs for the second time. Lenox would have been first. Lenox, of course, was an open-air mall when it was built in 1959.
And that was the suburbs then.
Very much the suburbs. This was very much the first-ring suburbs back then. This mall was out positioned about 6 or 7 years later with North Lake Mall. That was up at 285 when that mall opened, and then of course South DeKalb Mall, and there was other malls here, there, and everywhere at that point. This mall went on to the 80s, and where Scott Hudgens came back and redeveloped it, expanded the wings on there at the north and the south. You can see. Yep, exactly.
It kind of looks like a battleship.
Yeah, so the dark square up at the top was the original Riches. Riches actually owned that building and the parcel around it. That eventually, of course, became Macy's with the acquisition at some point in the 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
And
then this was part 2, you say?
That was mostly the main mall there. The 2 wings on the side were really the expansion. AMC and Marshall's still sit on the right side today, right there.
Y'all kept them around.
We did.
For Lulah Hills. Okay.
Yep. Going through that right now. And then ultimately, Cadillac Fairview sold the mall in the early 2000s to Charlie Hendon, which of course is a prolific name in Atlanta retail. He came in with a plan to put Costco here. 01, 02 is when he closed on the property and had that plan. Neighborhood fought him, traffic concerns, et cetera. And then ultimately, he sold the property to Sterling out of Miami and Lennar in 2013, 14. They ended up buying back what was the Macy's at the time. So they reacquired, put the puzzle back together.
Yeah.
And that's really a major issue. People say, why can't we redevelop all these malls? Most of these anchors control either through long-term, ridiculously low ground rents or they own them outright.
Hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank our sponsors for today's episode. This episode is brought to you by Corporate Environments, Georgia's leading full-service commercial furniture and workplace solutions partner. Whether you're building out Class A offices, retrofitting co-working space, or planning large-scale tenant improvements, Corporate Environments brings deep expertise in future design and specification, architectural solutions, project management, delivery, and and installation, and more. They're known for delivering turnkey solutions that help your properties stand out and your client's space work better. Plus, as a certified minority-owned business, they bring a fresh, diversity-driven perspective to every project, something that resonates in today's market. To elevate your next interior build-out or FF&E plan, reach out to Corporate Environments. They have a location here in Atlanta and Savannah, and you can learn more at corporateenvironments.com. Let their team turn your vision into impactful spaces.
Putting this thing back together is part of the thing. And then if you see a dead mall, there's probably a good reason why it hadn't been put back together, because those anchors control every aspect of everything you're doing out here. And so working with them can be fun and a challenge.
Yes.
So ultimately, Sterling comes in, Lennar comes in a JV, and they propose a Costco as well. Neighborhood, again, pushes back. And ultimately, they decide to sell the property in 2020. Mm-hmm. They closed the interior of the mall in 2020 and put the mall on the market in 2021. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, in December of 20, they put them all. We actually didn't win the initial bid. So that
was it pretty competitive?
Yeah, there was a lot of interest. I think people saw the opportunity.
Yeah, they
saw. Gosh, in this swath of Atlanta, you're talking about, and we look at an 18-minute drive time. Mm-hmm. That's basically what you're going to get from the consumer is 18 minutes. Mm. Maybe you get a little bit more, but maybe you get a little bit less. But generally, it's about 18 minutes. So 725,000 people, $40 billion buying power in this trade area. And so if you think 85 up to really kind of I-20, but that swath up to Tucker going out towards Stone Mountain, there's a significant population in Northeast Atlanta that was really not being served. And so if you go back to, really Buckhead and Pond City Market, and then you've got everything over here, there really wasn't much opportunity there.
Yeah.
So we started to see that a little bit at Songy Hills on the backside of our second phase of redevelopment there, where some of the national names like Ulta and J. Crew were starting to pop up and say, hey, this makes a lot of sense. So that started getting us paying attention a little bit more to what was happening over here. And this idea that you could really create a place to aggregate some brands and create a return to regionality, right? Yeah. This notion that this was once a pretty significant retail outlet.
It's just good retail, not good real estate. It's good. It's a good location. It's
right?
Just good dirt.
And what's really interesting too is that these early malls, the 60s malls, a lot of those are still very, very insulated into the communities. This is surrounded by single family homes. Different than perhaps what you may see at Gwinnett Place Mall, right? So everything over here is surrounded by this. So part of our vision here is to reconnect this mall to the neighborhood. This was actually a single family neighborhood. They got cut off to develop the mall. So how do we bring that back together?
Yeah.
But if you think about some of the malls that were built in the 80s, even the late 70s, it was all interstate based. And so the out parcel development and everything has made that challenging, and that you're recreating something in this sea of other commercial uses where we have a real unique opportunity here to create something that's really already in the neighborhood. It's already connected. So people saw a real opportunity here. We didn't win. We came in second. And ultimately the deal came back to us.
So they just weren't able to perform, or?
It was, there was a very, very, the seller had been through an 8 or 9 year zoning challenge with the neighborhood, and basically they were selling it as is, and said, "We're not going to let you have time to go get this rezoned," which they had just spent 6 or 7, 8 years, whatever they did, trying to do. And so ultimately, I think the prospective purchaser at the time asked for a little bit more time to go get some zoning done, and they declined, and so they came back to us, and there was a lot of folks nipping there trying to get in the deal. And I remember distinctly July 4th, 2021 weekend, we had a conversation, and our CEO was like, just go put it under contract. Go do the diligence in 30 days. And I'm like, Jody, I don't know that that's realistic. And this is in 2021 where you couldn't even get a survey on a house in 30 days. The market was just so screwy.
Yeah.
And this has everything you want in a redevelopment site. It's got a 6x6 culvert underneath it. It's got environmental. It's got all these things. And so, long story short, we put it under agreement. We had finished diligence before we had the PSA executed, and we ultimately ended up closing in September of 2021.
Okay.
So that was, from the time we got awarded the deal around July 1st ish to September. And then we pursued our zoning almost immediately thereafter. We were starting we had already started a lot of neighborhood meetings and county meetings, et cetera, but we immediately rolled into a rezoning process from there.
Well, like, again, not the retail or like developer kind of had the zoning, like how big of a change is that? Like, it's already retail now. I guess you needed zoning for the homes, like the townhouses and the apartments, and
there was no residential zoning whatsoever. So it was all general commercial,
for them all,
whatever. And so we had a significant uphill battle towards the development plan that we thought we needed to make this thing work, which was ultimately about 2.5 million square feet. So 2.5 million square feet. We ended up being zoned for 1,800 residential units. 200 of those could be townhome, with 1,700 being multifamily, but a cap of 1,800. 350,000 square feet or so of retail. We have zoning for a hotel and office if the market were to come back on that.
I saw when I was researching this, I saw y'all had some plans for office.
We do. I think
maybe later.
They're as this place, as the place starts to really reveal itself, right? Yeah. And we just had a big announcement this week with some of our retail, which will start that in essence. But whether it's the hotel, whether it's the office, people, I think, they need to see what's happening here on that front before an office or a hotel conversation really makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to be patient on that and do the right thing. But we're starting to get a few calls. Medical office seems to be a very popular conversation, especially in a part of the world where medical is driving everything.
Yeah. So
$6 billion of healthcare development in this part of the world. Yeah. CHOA just opened, obviously, last year, a year ago, bringing $4 billion into that campus. 12,000 employees just kind of between that and what's Emory's doing over here. Emory's looking to expand further, as I understand it, in the greater neighborhood. So that brings lots of opportunities down the road. But what it also does is it really seeds this retail demographic with an extraordinarily educated, affluent, diverse customer that, again, had nowhere to go. And so that really was driving the retail conversation here. There's something that can be done here. And you're seeing that now. Anthropology, for instance, one of our announcements this week is both in Ponce and they're in Buckhead. So this is what they were seeing as a complete void. They were missing this customer altogether here. Design Within Reach is another one that's on the west side. 9,300 square feet. To be able to pull them into a project at this stage, we're talking to some other folks that are new to market, that this now has their attention, that we're working on leases with. So that demographic and the way retailers think about things today is a lot of data-driven analytics, of course. Where's their customer coming from if they're already in a market? Where are they missing? And this was a huge void for that.
Y'all should get going on the office.
We should talk about that.
Yeah. From everything, like Medley's about to be 100% leased. I mean, Cushman, we moved that Boehringer Ingelheim group over. They're expanding. We've got a couple other deals that are going to take the remainder, and the rents are strong. And Avalon, there's been bidding wars over the remaining spaces there. Like absolute, like for real bidding wars of like give us best and final, which is kind of unheard of in the office world. And so I'm a little biased, but like I think it's time to strike.
You're exactly right, and I think what. And Mark's great at that. And we do have our Mosaic district in DC is probably our closest thing that we have to this is probably our flagship asset. And we have office there, a very, very successful office. So the place Ponce City Market is another example of the place driving that. Buckhead Plaza in Buckhead, another example where Cousins put a ton of money into making that a great place. And
now it's a wait list to get in. Yeah,
we just left because they were going to charge us too much rent. So the idea that this ground floor matters is, and we see that consistently. So on the residential, we see typically it's about 17 to 18% residential rent premium when these deals are in our projects. And that's across the, 18 or 20 or so deals that we've done like that.
Yeah.
The ground floor is a significant driver of what happens above.
That's right. That's even happening here at the center. I mean, you see they've got the food court that's coming in, our food hall.
Absolutely.
You see it the right way. But so yeah, that should trigger a lot of activity. But I'll click over. You sent me kind of like a little slide deck here. This is what it looks like as of a month ago. It's kind of like
this is real time, pretty much real time. So you're looking from Lawrenceville Highway. You're looking west.
Okay.
The site is almost completely demolished except for the AMC and the Marshalls up in the upper left corner. AMC was a 16-screen location for them, and we downsized. We worked with them, recast their lease, and they're now 11 screens. So we've downsized them. We've also had some other theater closures in this part of the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's your take on movie theaters? I mean, I know it's very lumpy. Like, the right picture comes out and everybody goes there.
It's a product thing right now, and AMC has been a tremendous partner to us, and very great sharing their thoughts on the industry. It's a product thing, but what we know is that if there's great product out there, people will go.
Yeah.
And when there's great product out there, it creates buzz, and that creates more box office sales and all those things. So I think they're kind of going through what retail went through, what office is going through right now, where they're right-sizing the number of screens in the United States. Regal just closed a 24-screen deal on 85 there at Shallowford.
And Epic at Colony Square. That was big.
Yeah, Epic, which was unfortunate because that was a fairly new deal.
Yeah.
And I think somebody will probably take that, is my view.
Yeah.
Smaller footprint, but I think that I do think that Netflix not buying Paramount's probably a good thing.
See, their stock has totally rebounded.
Yeah, I think we see runway there.
Yeah.
We still think it's a great component to have. It's a traffic driver. It's an experience, and I think we need to get back to having product. And I think it's coming. I think the product's coming. But my kids just went to go see.
I don't know what the movies are.
It was. I'll think of it in a minute. But
not the K-pop movie. Is that what you're talking?
Not the K-pop movie. It was the one with the basketball player, and I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, we feel like, and they're going to renovate this entire location, so top to bottom. So it'll be basically a brand new situation. And there's been a theater here, and that's another thing about these malls is there's this historical communal value that you get from these places that have been so significant in these communities for a long time. I mean, the stories that we get from people's first dates. My first job was here. Lily, who's on our leasing team, her grandfather had a shoe store here. Just like there are these emotional attachments to these sites in that case where that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, you can't recreate that. So trying to take those emotions and memories and reconstitute those into something current and modern and forward looking is kind of the task. But
I mean, it's kind of that town square for that.
I mean, it was the entertainment. It was commerce. It was all of those things, and now we're just rethinking how to do that. In these sites, but and most importantly, we're taking the retail from 700,000 square feet to 300 plus. So you're right sizing the overall retail footprint, which obviously we've needed to do. I mean, we haven't built retail really in this country of significance since the Great Recession. I mean, open air retail leading into the Great Recession was the leading growth driver in real estate, and it came out of the Great Recession being the least productive. So we are, I think right now, I read some stat, actually I think it might have been Cushman, maybe 0.25% of our existing inventory is new development, and that's about half of where it historically is. So we're not building new retail. The retail that's out there today, our retail stock in this country is about 5.5% vacancy. So compare that to office. I don't know.
It's over 20.
Yeah.
But that's excellent. You say that, I was like, that's really good.
Wild stat. At 5.5% vacancy in this country in retail.
Wow.
I mean,
and that accounts for all the dead malls out there.
Sure,
that's a part of that
yeah.
denominator.
If you look at like North Lake Mall, which is transitioning to more of a office-y type situation, medical office-y type situation.
Yeah.
But what's happening here is this right sizing of the retail footprint in this country, and so retailers now don't talk about my online sales and my brick and mortar sales. It's just one conversation now. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's a brand awareness thing. It's a customer acquisition thing.
Yeah.
What we know now is that when a retailer opens a store in a zip code or a trade area that they weren't represented, their online sales go up.
Interesting.
So 85% of all retail transactions still occur in a brick and mortar store. So of that 16%, 45% of the 16%, 15% of online transactions actually still occur in a retail store or used a retail store in some format. So you may buy online, you may pick up. You got kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't use Amazon until we had kids as a good brick and mortar retail person that I am. But then that quickly disappeared.
Oh, was that was like a principle?
That was like a principle in the household, which my wife fought me on, but my son's now 10, so we've been at it for a while. We've gotten really good at it.
You probably
now.
have a box showing up at your house every day.
Every hour in some cases, but it's not replaced our trip to the grocery store. It's not replaced how we shop and engage. Yeah. It's just complemented that in that way. So we're creating opportunities for customer engagement, customer acquisition, people to spend time, and if we can get your time. If you take your family to Lulah Hills and you spend 3 hours there, you're probably going to spend some money.
Yeah.
And depending on what we have here to offer, you're going to spend a lot of money. So that's how that all kind of functions back together. But it's no longer this there's online and there's this. It's one conversation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Cool. Can you just walk us through? So this is the site plan. This is accurate. This is up to date.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay, so we saw Publix over here, AMC, Marshalls, and so this is really that kind of like town square, or at least like the main boulevard here.
So Lulah Avenue is what you see from Lawrenceville, really bisecting the site there, and that becomes our main street.
Cool.
So we're under construction right now with all of the site work that you see here. So we call it the U. So Publix to the first phase of residential there on the right side with Crescent Communities down to the existing mall and the green spaces and then up through the townhomes. That's really our first phase. That's about 240,000 feet of retail. It's 303 multifamily units with Crescent. Crescent and our townhome partner, Empire Homes, closed in December.
Cool. Okay.
So those are 92 for sale townhomes, which we're very excited about. They're under construction there as well. So December and the closing with Crescent was really the first phase. The first real vertical movement on the site was that building. They're actually going to have a groundbreaking, even though they've broken ground next week. We're very excited about that. And the ability to raise equity there was huge in a very challenging market. I think you have to quote me on this, but there may have been 2 or 3 in town multifamily closings last year for development.
Wow.
And Crescent, I think, had 2 of them. So just a really interesting market in terms of where the interest rates, cap rates shifted to allow for new development, and certainly construction costs have not helped any of that conversation. But very excited about that. And then what's not really out there right now is Rangewater Real Estate. We've partnered with on the second phase of residential, which is the building there across from the Publix there in the middle of the site.
Okay.
You can see their amenity deck will be right there overlooking the park space.
Oh, that's sharp. Is this the hotel here?
That's contemplated to be a hotel. We're actually at least right now with a 15,000 square foot retail user. Cool. That is very, very exciting for the project to work on. Yeah. Very, very big name that we're very excited about. Well, I wish I could tell you what it is, but I'll report back.
Yep.
So Rangewater will close in October on that deal. And start construction, putting another 285 units in the mix, another 40,000 square feet of retail there in that building. And we will own our retail and control our retail and the retail parking.
Tell me about that dynamic. So like Crescent and Rangewater, like was Crescent like, hey, why didn't you give us another look for I don't know how that dynamic, or they're like, we're tapped out, like go to somebody else if you want more apartments. I don't know if I'm stepping on toes or
no. It was a healthy competitive situation.
Okay.
We love our partners, and it was a healthy competitive situation.
Great. Okay.
I think they are seeing what this story is becoming, and so Rangewater wanted to be a part of it. Crescent wants to be a part of it too, and so yeah.
Okay.
We're working right now, so we're Rangewater again is under contract and working toward a closing in the fall, and we are working to finalize a PSA on our third phase, which would be right here.
That's far.
And that's our last building that has ground floor retail.
Okay.
Another 25,000 square feet of retail there, which is important because it actually completes the retail experience.
Yeah.
It completes Lulah Avenue, which is the heart of the project. And so very excited about that. And I think the real dynamic here is working to make sure you're balancing the timing of these deliveries. So that'll be 900 plus units in a short amount of time, but making sure that you're giving it space to open and lease and do well. Sure. And then we have some flexibility on what we do in the rest of that block. We could do more multifamily. We could do senior living. We could do more townhomes potentially.
Well. Yeah.
There's really not been a lot of townhome product in this part of the world, but a very, very strong appetite for more. So,
hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank today's sponsors. This episode is brought to you by USA Cabling Technologies and Solutions. Alex Morris and his team are just the most incredible partners. They've helped us get our studio going here. Anything that you need for low voltage or audio visual needs in your own build outs or office suites, they are just A+. So if you want to learn more about them, you can go to their website, usacablingtech.com. Again, that's usacablingtech.com. Now back to the show. What about, these are just kind of placeholders or?
Yeah. So, these are all individually owned out parcels that would obviously follow, a mall development back in the day.
Yeah.
So we have actually purchased one. This is an old gas station at North Druid, right there at North Druid and right there where your cursor is.
Yeah.
An old Meineke on the other side of the street.
Okay.
Right there.
I'm going to pop over to.
Yeah.
There. Okay. So this gives a better picture.
That little Meineke right there was an old Meineke car shop on the other side. Right there. You got it.
Okay.
Right there. Yep.
Okay.
Kind of a threshold moment. It was on the market. We had the opportunity to acquire it. And it really is a front door for the project from that perspective. Just signed a lease with Refuge Coffee Company, which is a great
kitty.
Yeah. So
that's a good ad.
Very, very excited about and they have a great mission. But being able to work with them, they've done a gas station before.
Yeah, that's pretty close to Clarkston. Yeah, that's like
we're not far from Clarkston.
Yeah.
But being able to do something with those guys, create a community space that's right there as a front door. Well, it'll be branded with Lulah, of course, in some fashion, but that should open this spring. So we'll be able to create a little bit of a showroom for what we're doing and experience there, so that the community can engage with what it is, but it also be a kind of a quasi leasing office and be able to meet folks for tours and so forth there. So
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But the rest of it's fine. I mean, it's not something that, of course you would love to own all of that, but you'd probably go broke or die trying.
Yeah.
So, the notion of if we get Lulah Avenue right, and the retail that we're talking to sees that stuff will figure itself out.
Yeah. You got a lot. You've been off enough.
Yeah, we've got plenty to say grace over. So that's an old Pier 1 on this image, but that's now the new Chick-fil-A that relocated, cool. Which, by the way, is the Chick-fil-A at Lulah Hills officially in your app.
Officially?
So, yes, you can get your Chick-fil-A sandwich there.
They're on it.
From our Lulah Hills branded Chick-fil-A, which is fun. But so it's really about what happens on Lulah Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's get off of North Hills. Let's get off of Lawrenceville Highway where you're going 60 miles an hour. Let's get off, park our car, and or walk here.
Get you on the
another key element of this project that we're working on. This came with our tax allocation funding from Dorian and his crowd at North DeKalb. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Michael Thurman, who was CEO at the time, who was a big fan, also a fellow Gamecock, but a big fan of what we were doing here and wanted to see something special happen. And that really, we would not be here without that partnership on the TAD stuff to secure the increment tax increment financing to really pull this off. When interest rates switched hard, we explored every option, and they were tremendous partners and are tremendous partners. But part of that was this connectivity from our site to Medlock Park. So we are funding a trail from our site through the 20 acres of the lower site, as we call it, which is the South Creek of the South Fork of the Peachtree Creek, which runs there to the left of the community garden.
Wow.
Yeah, so we will cross the creek into the Medlock Park neighborhood. That's it right there.
Okay, okay.
So we own about 20 acres down here, and the other side of the creek is the Cloud Shepherd Nature Preserve, which is about 40 acres.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're going to have about 60 acres worth of open space preserve right at the back door of the project.
What an amenity for all these townhouses.
It's a huge driver. And from the connectivity to Medlock, there's already a trail from Medlock to Emory. There'll be about a 16-minute bike ride to get to Emory's campus.
Oh, that's cool.
So a direct connection from here to Emory without having to get on a major road through a bike path, walking path is tremendous. And so big deal for the community and the neighborhood to do that. Yeah. But we obviously saw the opportunity there too to provide that connection.
Okay. Can you share what you were talking before we got rolling about this it's showing up here on Google, but y'all had some people doing donuts in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was kind of a funky time coming out of COVID when we bought the site, and like many other sites throughout Metro Atlanta, this became like a hot spot for donuts, and so the neighbors started to call and complain, and we started looking at options to fence the entire site, and it just got to be ridiculous. And I was meeting somebody out there one day, and I saw a truck driver hop out, and I just asked him what he was doing. He's like, I'm just taking a quick snooze. I said, hey, why don't you tell your buddies, like, y'all can just have at it. Just make it a truck stop for a while. And ultimately, I think I was out there another 45 days later, and there might have been 60 trucks.
Just filled
it up. So we killed the street racing and the donuts. We created a noise issue from all the trucks in the parking lot at night. So it ultimately all went away when we started demolition, which was good. But you got to get creative. We also, from our acquisition till really the day we tore it down, there was a filming going on here.
Was this Stranger Things? Was this?
It was not Stranger Things.
That was a different mall.
Much to my son. My son's watching it now, and he's like, "Dad, that would have been so cool if Stranger Things was there." I was like, "That was Gwinnett. Sorry, son."
Yep.
But we did have we had Ozarks. Was
really?
here.
Okay.
One of the final scenes. Electric State, which was Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown were here. They created a old mall, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Fit right in, fit the bill. But we actually generated a fair amount of revenue from that.
Awesome.
The film industry, as you well know, is huge here. And so we want to do our part. But yeah.
Got it. Okay, so we're well under construction. What's delivery? Like when can I go and walk down?
Well, you can go if you go back to that. If you go back to that aerial, you AMC and Marshalls are still open today, just for the record. You can go see a movie today. The first phase of residential will open end of Q1 27. So we're about 13 months away.
Wow. It's exciting.
Publix will open actually a little ahead of schedule, right around the end of March next year.
Okay.
That will also include the retail around our green spaces. And then the Crescent building, which has about 40,000 square feet, will open kind of Q3 27.
Okay.
So we got a little bit more time on that. But so you'll have about 240,000 square feet of retail open and operating by the fall of 27 on site. And then come Q1, early Q2 of 28, you'll have another, call it 55,000 square feet open as well within the Rangewater and then the freestanding retail building there at our Main Street. our main intersection.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah, man.
What I got to ask about the office portion again.
Sure.
Where would you put that on this site? This kind of looked like a great little corner, but I mean, you said that y'all are talking about a lease already for it.
Well, we have an opportunity up on Lawrenceville Highway right there.
Okay.
So we could. That's about 2 acres site right there.
Okay.
We also have some flexibility in a few other places on the site, but
okay, got it. So the main, this is all pretty much spoken for. Like the office would be an add-on later.
Yeah.
Cool. What else can I ask you about this? This is really exciting. I really wasn't like super aware of the project, but I know y'all have slowly rolled it out, and now like as of this week, you're making big announcements and starting to make.
This was a big week for the team. Anthropology, Design Within Reach, Herman Miller, Honeysuckle Gelato, Wes Jones and his crowd. His mom lives in Decatur. She's like super pumped.
Yeah.
Fire Pit Tavern is a great spot. Down on Memorial Drive. They got Bird Cages, their sister restaurant. So this stuff's starting to roll.
Yeah.
You'll see some more announcements hopefully soon.
Sure.
Excuse me. But it's these malls are excellent opportunities. They take tremendous partnership with the municipalities. And it doesn't stop just with getting a TIF deal done. I mean, we've taken 3 or 4 tours with the DeKalb County staff, bringing them out here, letting them get bought into what it is that we're up to. Like, this is your community. Like, this isn't just you checking off plans when they go in to make sure that the seat count matches the grease trap application.
Right.
Like, this is changing a huge portion of East Atlanta and DeKalb County. And it's like Michael Thurman told me, it's like, we need to show people that we can do big things in DeKalb. And I think it's starting to resonate. And this list of retailers that we announced this week is just kind of starting to share what this place can be.
Yeah.
So very, very excited about where we are and where things are headed.
Well, it's exciting to watch and excited to go check it out when it opens up.
We'll have to get you out there on site. Yeah. We now have vertical construction starting, in earnest. So a lot more to see out there rather than just dirt and pipes, but a lot of fun stuff happening on site.
That's cool. What's your take on like the overall market? And I'm curious, like, what do you see coming down the pipeline? I know that the debt world's weird, interest rates and all that. Like, I'm curious what your take is on the big picture.
It's interesting. It's a very interesting world right now. As we sit here and talk now.
Right.
We've dealt with tariffs. It's just everything that we could have been thrown at.
Yeah.
Inflation coming out of the last few years to then tariffs and then just
it's constant.
There's confusion, and so investors and retailers like consistency and things. So, we do the best we can to focus on creating the best experience in the best place we possibly can. And then we think if we do that, the rest of the noise will kind of figure itself out, that the consumer will win and we'll be able to bring folks here and let them experience that. But the retail world, I think, is very healthy right now, despite kind of this everybody talks about the K economy, and I don't discount that at all because I think that's real. Yeah. But despite all the noise, retailers are still expanding. They're still growing, and they're finding that places like this are great places for them to be.
Yeah.
So creating those opportunities. But I mean, 5% vacancy in our world is like nuts, right? I mean, it's a crazy number. So it's harnessing that and creating great experiences in great places that can give these retailers a place to go engage and find and acquire new customers.
Yeah. So we're here downtown.
Yeah.
What's your take on all the stuff that's happened here? We got Centennial Yard, South Downtown.
It's
Center.
It's a lot. And it's fantastic. I think downtown has long needed this, and it goes back to the development of Summerhill and what happened over there at Turner Field, and it's bleeding over into here, and it's really great to see. I hadn't been down here in a little bit, a few months, but the hotel just opened. The stuff that John Birdsong and David are doing over there at South Downtown is it's really hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, really hard work.
And they're spending a lot
and
to make it
spending a lot
happen.
of money. I think it's noble work, first of all, because I think our city needs that to be what this city can be and what this region can be. And it's not just the city, it's the region. Let's be honest. But I think harnessing the amount of traffic and trips that are already occurring here and keeping them here for events or mart or whatever the event is that gets people down here, keeping them here for an extended period of time is going to be important. And I think these venues are going to do that. The Cosm thing looks amazing. I can't wait to check that out. And then Spiller Park Coffee over Dale's an old friend. We've done some deals with Dale. Like him buying into that vision is fantastic. So what's happening here and what is one of the most iconic buildings that we have in town, the CP guys are not scared to take on really fun, big things. And that's what we need. That's what we need in downtown, what we need more of. Yeah. There's a lot of great things. I mean, what Toro's doing at Medley is fantastic. What's happening down here, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of energy in Atlanta right now, which is awesome. The World Cup's a huge player in that too.
Yeah. We're within 100 days now.
Yeah.
Or something. So
I mean, that's wild. And that's 8 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Impact.
Yeah. And we have another Super Bowl coming.
And another Super Bowl. Your piece with Corso was fantastic.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I think what Tom Cousins envisioned 40, 50 years ago when he was acquiring all the land down here.
Yeah.
It's how to string this together to make it a more of a real place. So.
Yeah. Being down here, like, I mean, it took some time getting the studio set up. So we'll go to lunch and stuff over at the Omni next door. And I mean, you just living here, you don't realize how many conventions and conferences and like, it's insane. So we had William Pate come in. He was like, we have 50 million people that come through the city every year. And you just wouldn't know. I mean,
I've always been told Atlanta has about 100,000 hotel rooms. You may know a better stat than that. But
sounds right.
But I've lived here for 12 years. And when I would travel over here every week, basically, before I moved, sometimes there would be weeks where you couldn't find a hotel room anywhere.
Wow.
Not even just downtown. You just couldn't find a hotel room. So it's a real thing. It's a real impact. It goes unnoticed for a lot of people that live and work outside of downtown every day, but it's a huge driver of what could be very special down here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it was so funny. Like when I first got in the business, I met Nick Garcia, who was at CIM. In the retail world, he's over at Heinz now, and he's actually helping with a lot of the retail here. They've partnered up with CP Group, but I posted something on LinkedIn about Centennial Yards, and it was just a rumor at the time, and like everybody's like, that $5 billion project, is that ever going to happen? 30-something people have tried to redevelop the Gulch over decades, and so I posted something, and I know Nick reached out and was like, he sent me this private message like, hey, that's wrong. Like, you didn't, it was actually this much retail space or this many hotel rooms or just kind of a thing. I was like, oh, well, you actually like work for them. Like, do you want to get coffee sometime? Like, can I like learn more? So we got coffee at the Starbucks at 100 Peachtree, and he brought his iPad and had all these like, they had confidential written all over it. Showed me like what the plans were, and I was like, oh man, this is coming.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. And I remember sharing with people. I was like, I really think downtown's coming. Like, there's a new energy that's happening, and like it's finally here. I mean, you just pulled up to the parking deck. You see, like they've gone everywhere. Vertical, and it's real. So
it's the appropriate marriage and the right marriage, I think, of sport and that product coming together, and the impact of the sports and this and everything else, but the sports part, having that come together is huge.
Yeah, the championships, we have college, we have conventions, concerts, like the C's. That's what downtown does really well.
The SEC Marta Stop, they just named it, right? Sports Entertainment and Convention.
They've finally changed it. Yeah. Well, good. I wanted to ask about your watch. I'm an admirer of watches. It looks like you got a classic Datejust here.
Yeah. Actually, it was a wedding gift from my wife in 1960. So just cool. Something that she came about. So.
Got it. Do you collect, or you just this is the one?
Just the one and only.
Got it. It's a good looking piece. Anything else I can ask you about? Like what else does Eden's have coming up? Or?
Man, we've got another large project in Charleston right now in West Ashley.
Okay.
We are under construction on about a $350 million project there. Moving a grocery store, 300 or so apartments with Woodfield Development, and about 95 townhomes with Material Capital Partners. That'll be about 250,000 square feet of retail at the end of the day around a central green space. So a very, very 35-acre site, so kind of different scale than Lulah. But that's under construction. Our first phase will open probably early next summer, summer of 27. But we've got a great team there and a lot of great retail momentum. I don't know how well you know Charleston, but West Ashley is a huge growth corridor. Probably, I think it's the largest block of the city now there in West Ashley. So great mayor that's a developer, and we formed a great partnership with them also on a TIF deal there. To rethink a very critical site for the city and for that neighborhood and community. So very excited there as well. I mean, this is just a huge lift, but can be a very, very impactful project for that community. So those two are keeping me pretty busy and keeping the team pretty busy. Yeah. We spread between Charleston and here. We've got boots on the ground in both places, but a lot of work going on in the Sun Belt. But we're doing stuff across the country. We've been a big acquirer in the last few years, acquiring $800 or $900 million worth of existing product. And I think our development pipeline's about $900 million right now across the portfolio as well. About 25 different projects of different scales and sizes, but pretty robust development pipeline too. So
have you all poked around down in Savannah at all?
We've been in and out of Savannah for years. One of the first projects I worked on was a fresh market there on Abercorn. We did some stuff in Pooler over the years, but hadn't been back down there in a bit. But there's a lot happening down there too. A lot of growth in that market.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, Herbert, this has been awesome.
Man.
Really very excited about this project. Maybe we can come out there and do a little segment like we did with South Downtown.
Would love that. Welcome you anytime, and love what you guys are doing here. A lot of great stuff happening in our city, and you guys are putting a good spotlight on it.
Good deal.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. You can, check out other episodes that we have. Herbert and his team are going to be making something amazing happen on the east side. We're kicking off season 2. We have 10 videos that are coming out between now and August, and a really great lineup. So, obviously, if you need commercial space or if you want to know more about the office market, please reach out to me or my team. And that's it. Thanks.